You were tuned in to The Local Lens, the podcast from the Powell County Health Department where we go inside our community's experience with the drug epidemic. We have a special episode for you guys today. We're going to be hearing from two different guys from Addiction Recovery Care, which we will be calling ARC quite a bit today. The first guy we're going to hear from today is Will Arvin, who is a Powell County native and was our guest on our previous episode where he was telling us his entire backstory. So if you've not heard that episode yet, then I encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. He's got an incredible story to tell. But today's episode is going to be focused on one of the most important parts of recovery. That's employment. So let's go on and get into a quick summary of Will Arvin's story.
This Xanax, whenever I was 15, has evolved into, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my head to change. And I would do whatever it took. I used IV methamphetamines. And instantly, almost, I would hallucinate. There would be, in that realm, we would call it, in the streets, we'd call it the grass people or the feds or in the TVs, and there's cameras everywhere, and it had a complete hold on me. Because at first, I told you all I was on opiates and marijuana, and it was a different kind of animal. And then I got into this major league type, bull by the horns. I grab onto something that can't, won't let go of me.
He ends up getting arrested, which in that controlled environment is actually where the seeds of recovery were planted for the first time. The changes definitely didn't come instantly, but they did start developing then.
It was like I was downloading all this information, didn't know how to apply it.
That's fair. Yeah.
I had no understanding of how to go from being caged up to throwing you out into the world and being like, yeah, there you go, bud. Let's see what you can do with it. We got you a tool belt full of tools. We're not going to show you how to use them, but we're going to see what you can do,
And this is one of the biggest disconnects that we have. We keep people in prison or jail and keep them separated from the rest of the functioning society, and then you throw them back out into the wild and expect them to land on their feet. You go from having nothing but structure to being completely without structure. How did you do with that when you first got out?
Transitioning. I'd actually had... I worked at Red Hour for about 3 months here in Clay City. You gave me a chance. You didn't have to, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You gave me a chance, and, I'm forever grateful for that, man. Really, with all honesty, I'd come in there, and at that time, I didn't understand what God was doing, but, he'd be blaring, worship music in there, and I didn't even know what worship music was. And he's, Jesus.
Did you like it then?
Jesus freaks, you know what I mean? That's what I would call everybody, these people, they're cool, but they're gonna give me a chance, so it was awesome. I was there for about 3 months, and I got to work with some really great people that was actually in drug court at that time, and they was really trying to do their recovery thing, and it still was like a foreign language to me. Mm-hmm. And because I had this knowledge that I got from the inside, which, a lot of times there was nothing there anyway to tempt somebody to use anyway. So you're in this controlled environment to going to where it was free reign.
Now, we've had interviews before on this show where we talked about how important it is to have structure to your day when you're in recovery. Now, you can hear from Misty DeHart in the episode we did with her about generally filling your day with structure. But with Will, we were talking more about how employment specifically gives structure to your days and to your life. So we wanted to dive in specifically on the topic of employment. And when we were starting to get into this, we learned about this program that Addiction Recovery Care, once again, we're going to call that ARC today. We learned about this program that ARC offers called the Crisis to Career Program. And that is this incredible program where people are working on getting employable skills and certifications at the same time that they're working on their recovery program. And this is preparing people to enter into the real world again after they get out of treatment and be able to land on their feet. Anyways, let's go in and get into the episode. My name is Nate Brooks. I'm your host of The Local Lens. These are our people using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do.
So the crisis to career would be literally you getting a needle pulled out of your arm, or you pulling a needle out of your arm and coming into treatment a year later. They're going to have different programs that you can go into through that year, and they give you a job, man. They give you a job, they give you employment, they give you family, they give you love, they give you every single opportunity to not just survive but thrive. And literally using your testimony to help you to realize it. It helped me to understand that there's opportunities and there's hope, and God's going to reveal your destiny to you. Oh man, it was overwhelming to understand that, you know what, I got purpose today. I got purpose today. So what the enemy had meant for evil, he turned it for better than good. Yeah. So one addict getting saved could lead into, one addict getting into recovery. There's no telling the circle of influence that one person has, maybe 10, 20, in a weekend that you get to brush shoulders with. So what goes on after that, then people are going to go and they're going to have a circle of influence. So it helps to be able to show them. Somebody showed me that, big honky covered in tattoos, talking about recovering and talking about having employment and talking about having a home and having a 9-to-5 and, having a relationship with their higher power, having a relationship with Jesus. It wasn't, out of reach for me to do it. And it was going to be able to, I was going to be able to do it. So it was like a shot of hope. Yeah. But the crisis to career, man, is phenomenal. It is a game changer. And you mentioned it before about throwing people straight out of prison back to the streets. So when you come to this place that's not going to just help you transition, they're going to give you somewhat of a home setting, like a home feel, like a family feel, and it's literally going to help you to be able to learn how to lean on other people for support and be able to ask people for help and be able to do, I don't know if anybody's normal in this world, but somewhat of normalcy, operations through your life.
This is a pretty well-respected program, especially by the people who complete the program. So let's dig in a little bit deeper and find out more about ARC's Crisis to Career program. So to find out more, we went and talked to a guy who works in the corporate offices for ARC.
Sure, my name's Brandon Hill. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff here at Addiction Recovery Care. So in my role, I'm fortunate enough to work with some of our key leaders. I help with bridging some partnerships that we have. We have a lot of partners, internal and external. I fill in some gaps where they have a lot going on. There's a lot of big ideas around here, a lot of things moving forward, so I just try to fill those gaps for them.
And Brandon himself is in long-term recovery.
I was actually spent some time in treatment with your last guest from ARC, Will Arvin. We spent some time together at one of our facilities in Catlettsburg, Kentucky.
So we are doing this interview way out in eastern Kentucky in a town called Louisa, which is right on the West Virginia border.
West Virginia is right out that window on the other side of the mountain there, hill.
Okay, so yeah, I am looking at West Virginia right now.
Yes.
So we are out here in eastern Kentucky for sure. In our next episode, we're going to get to know Brandon Hill and hear his story. But for this one, we're still going to just stick on employment and what his role at ARC is and how he sees employment to be an important part of recovery. So let's go on and get back into it then. You're in recovery.
Yes,
How
sir.
many of the other people in like the corporate office would you think? Like, is there like a percentage of people or anything you would say?
Overall, roughly 50% of our employees are in recovery themselves. And of that 50%, I think it's roughly 30 to 40%, 30 to 35% are addiction recovery care graduates who'd gone through the program here, spent their whole year, did the internship, and were employed after that 1 year of treatment.
Okay.
So quite a few.
So what does that mean then for ARC to have like half of the people helping run it know what it's like to be receiving, at least maybe not the ARC treatment itself, but like just
Sure.
to be in recovery?
So I think we have a little different life experience than others, and having gone through that treatment has, what used to be the dark spot, the untalked about in my life, has become one of my strengths, because I'm able to articulate or to give my side of what something may look like to one of our clients. And ultimately, that's what addiction recovery care is about, is our clients, serving our clients to give them the best opportunity to discover hope and live out their God-given destiny. So that unique experience that we bring that are in recovery, I think has been instrumental in addiction recovery care being successful as far as helping as many clients as we can find sobriety.
Will Arvin can attest to that.
There was people that were there that had been exactly where I'd been, and been in the madness, and told me, look, man, just hang in there, don't give up. And I think that kind of was this door opening for me to not only to move on past this huge traumatic adulthood that I had up till then. I mean, I was in addiction for like 12 years. That was traumatic, and that was like that would have been the first initial being able to see somebody else that had been where I'd been, that had a career at that point in time that went from a crisis to career.
And we're back to Brandon. Could you tell us a bit about that program?
Yeah, it's amazing. You basically go through a year's worth of treatment, and at the end of it, the goal and idea is to end up with some type of skill that you've learned over that year, whether it's a vocational skill, a training, or a college education, working towards that path to give yourself the best opportunity and chance to be successful in life. There's a multitude of paths you can go down, but generally you'll be in a residential treatment facility in what we call phase 1, which is roughly 45 days. And that's like your withdrawal management, stabilization, just kind of clearing the fog. Then you do, we would say probably 4 to 6 weeks. It can kind of vary in our phase 2. That's where you're going to learn some recovery skills. You're really going to hone in on coping mechanisms, life skills, as I mentioned. And then you have phase 3. Phase 3 is more putting that into work, putting that into action. In phase 4, which we call our internship program, that's when you would kind of branch off into a specialty training field to get that certificate I mentioned, or work on your GED diploma and get that finished, to give yourself, again, that best chance of success and a stable, good job that you can be proud of and have a respectable living on, to give, again, yourself the best opportunity and chance to be successful in life.
Okay. And then I know that on this property, or at least in Louisa, there are several different pathways that you can do. I've heard about the mechanic shop, the bakery, and I know I've heard about other things, and I can't think about what any of them. What are some of the...
So yeah, we have a Second Chance Auto, which is where you can earn your AES certificate and go down that path. There is a Masterpiece Kitchen, which is a culinary program There's so many of them now. There's Peer Support Academy, which is where you can become a peer support specialist, someone in recovery who's living clean and sober 1 year, who learns skills to assist others in that same path. And then we also have a bridge, which is to where you can work on your CADC as well to become a certified clinical counselor. And then let me think of some other ones we have. There's quite a few. We have an arts program. We have.
What does that do?
So it's a branch within the Peer Support Academy.
Okay.
So if somebody has a gift, let's say, of singing or a musical gift or an artistic gift, they can kind of hone in on those skills with their peer support.
Okay.
And just kind of use that tool to help facilitate a group and connect with other peers.
So, did you do any of the crisis to career paths or anything?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I spent, a full year in residential treatment to where I did our phase 1, our phase 2 program, our phase 3, and then was fortunate enough to earn an internship, and I chose the path of the Peer Support Academy. So I'm a certified peer support specialist with an MPI number, and I can provide services and bill Medicaid. And I learn a lot about myself, not just to facilitate group and help others, which I guess in turn goes hand in hand, but a lot about learning who I am and what I need to do for my recovery, and just really kind of found out who I am during that 6 to 8 months of my internship in the Peer Support Academy.
So what ARC is doing here is pretty incredible. They're taking people who are coming to them looking to find recovery for themselves, and then they're training those people on how to do that job for other people and help other people find recovery. One thing that Will said earlier in this episode is that the circle of influence of one addict who's found recovery is so wide. In the same way, ARC's circle of influence as a company is growing. So they are building their own workforce out of their clients. But what is really good about ARC and what they do is they're training people to work in other industries as well. It's not just people going back and working in addiction services. It's people going out into the wider workforce in our communities.
Our ultimate goal is, we are a fast-growing company with big hopes of reaching as many as we can. So with that becomes job opportunities within ARC. But it's not for everybody. Everybody has a different path. Everybody has a different walk in recovery. So we want to broaden that scope of training and learning to where they can take any skill and apply that to not only addiction recovery care, but other employers, mechanics, kitchens, restaurants, cruise lines, the hospitality industry. So kind of broadening that scope to give people the best opportunity that they want to do is really the ultimate goal.
If you're working with the community here in Louisa and the wider region, like ARC is all over the region, starting to be all over the state even.
Right.
How are other employers responding to you guys giving workers out there to the community? So
there's a big need right now for workers, people that want to work, have certain skills, and a work mentality. There's numbers I could go on and on about second chance employment and employers, but I know that we are talking to and working with a wide variety of employers to try to help them fill that gap, which in turn benefits us and our clients by giving them better opportunities and chances to do what they love, and with the respectable ways that somebody can live on and be proud of. As I'd mentioned before, that's, to me, I think that was a big deal for me, because I did not think that was going to be possible when I first came to treatment. And I quickly learned that it's very possible for me and anybody else that really wants it.
And then I'm glad you mentioned that about lots of places are hiring now.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can address a business owner who is hesitant about second chance employment, what would you say to them?
I would certainly understand their hesitation. A lot of times, the news, just in life, we focus on the negatives But for every negative, I can tell you there's at least one or more positive story of people successfully changing their life for the better. There's no harder worker, no more. There's not another person, I don't think, trying to prove themselves and what they can do than somebody in recovery. I mean, I'm speaking for myself in all reality, but I know that giving this second chance is, I mean, it's so hard to even explain what it means to me as a person, that I want to be successful in what I do. So I want to make somebody proud, make somebody not regret the second chance. There's some people, and myself really in all reality, that need third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances. But you won't find another worker that's any harder. You won't find somebody that's more dedicated or more passionate to make somebody proud than somebody in recovery.
You know, economically, addiction, overdose rate, people don't understand how important it is to have skills, you know, coming back out and stuff, and how it affects the economy.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody thinks about that part of it.
No, I mean, you know, I know for myself, I tried to fake it, right, and had a job for a while, but eventually I lost that job. Eventually I couldn't get somebody to hire me because, you know, I had a record. I had things that were hard to explain, and I was still in active addiction. If they did give me a chance, I wasn't showing up to work very often. So it plays a huge role, in my opinion, in poverty, in the economy, and just the overall morale of a community.
Let's dive into that a little bit. How?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's keep pressing on that, because like that is a common complaint of life in Eastern Kentucky, for sure, and also Appalachia, and that like industries are scarce, poverty is everywhere you look, morale is low, anyways. Addiction just seems to be a part of the puzzle, but like if you embrace that, you go through the recovery and you come out on the other side, then like there is a path there that ends up helping the whole community as well. Do you have any specific thoughts on that at all, or anything else to say on that? That's all right if not.
I mean, not specifically. I know there's a lot of stigma towards addiction, rightfully so, and it's gotten a lot better than what it used to be, for sure. I know for me and my family, once we addressed the problem and admitted that there was one, that's when things started to change for the better.
And you've said a couple times now that like the hesitation is rightfully placed, right. And that is just you admitting that it's a problem. Like it's not good to have, like, if you're employing somebody in active addiction, then like it's going to be hectic for the employer.
Absolutely.
But that's not how it stays.
Yeah, and you know, it's unfortunate, but that's the state that we are in. And you know, we see the numbers of overdose deaths going up and the addiction rate, but you know, I think as a whole, we've all come a long way as far as employers understanding addiction a little bit more, having resources for their employees to maybe try to address those or intervene in some of those before it could get any worse. So I think we're on the right path. There's still a whole lot of work to be done, but I think we're definitely on the right path.
And the whole point of this isn't about having a healthy economy. It isn't about making sure that we have workers available here. And it's not even about people finding sobriety necessarily.
And it's more than sobriety. It's a lot more than just being sober. But that's, you know, where it starts.
What's it about?
It's about life, enjoying life, relationships you build with your family or restore with your family. You know, getting married, having children, being a dad again to the children that you had an addiction that maybe you didn't spend much time with. Because ultimately, you know, drugs or alcohol are first and foremost. It's a very self-centered, selfish disease. So I've found joy, peace, happiness, pride in what I do and who I am today. So I can go on and on with that list, but it's a lot more than just being sober.
One of the big key components of staying sober, according to several of our guests now at this point, is keeping some structure in your life. And employment is a way to give structure to people's lives. And it's more than that even. It's giving people responsibility. It's putting faith in people. It's telling them that you trust them to be able to get something done. And it's putting money in their pocket. It's giving them independence. So maybe one of the biggest lessons from this could be that one of the keys to recovery is showing that you have faith in somebody, showing that you trust somebody. And that stays pretty consistent with things that you hear completely not related to employment from people who are in recovery successfully.
There were so many people when I was in treatment that shared their story with me and told me about what was going on with them in the past and today, that it gave me little tiny bits of hope each time I'd hear somebody's story and see living proof that it was possible. Because before I came to treatment, I just thought I was a junkie that was going to die of drugs or end up in jail. I can't say it enough. Those I thought were my two options. I didn't think there was any possibility to be where I am today, let alone 3 years ago. I didn't think that was possible.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of The Local Lens. We appreciate you guys paying attention. Today's episode covered a lot of ground. There are a lot of very long-standing problems that we cover in this. Employment is hard for anybody. So imagine how hard it is to somebody that has a criminal past. And where addiction is rooted in mental illness, that just makes it tricky. Where the prisons are involved and how we rehabilitate prisoners to get back into the real world, there is a very large web of all kinds of things that are interconnected. We want to hear your thoughts on this. Reach out to us online, get with us on Facebook, and join the conversation. We've been talking about some big subjects today, and it's a complicated topic. So we want to hear what you have to contribute to that conversation. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in once again. And also thank you to Will Arvin and Brandon Hill for being interviewed for the show. Thank you guys both for being so honest and open and candid with us. We really, really, really appreciate it. Our next episode is going to be Brandon Hill's story. He'll be back with us again, so be sure you tune in for that. And thank you, ARC, Addiction Recovery Care, for doing such good work throughout the state, and hopefully you guys grow well. You're doing good work so far, so I'd like to see that work continue. Also, I would like to thank WSKV, the radio station that broadcasts our show, and thanks as well to the Powell County Health Department and Kentucky Rio for sponsoring the show. You've been listening to The Local Lens. I'm your host, Nate Brooks. These are our people using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do.